Hello, good afternoon, council members. This is Marnie Jackson of Langley, Washington. It is easy to cut down a tree. It's impossible to put it back. In considering whether to proceed with the planned removal of the David Meeker Gary oak tree, please take time to allow due process, to allow actions in the Court of Appeals, to allow reflection and response from local tribes, to do consideration of kestrel nest sites, and to understand the legal requirements to leave raptors undisturbed. And take into consideration the resounding feedback from your community. As elected officials, you serve the public. The public does not want this 400-year-old tree, middle-aged for this species, to be killed. If it is determined next year, next decade, or next century that the people want their elected officials to remove this tree for the public good, then it won't be too late to do so. Today, however, it is far too early. Quebec and Jamestown were new colonies when this tree sprouted. The only people to have walked this land were those whose ancestors have been here since time immemorial. Rembrandt and Cyrano de Bergerac were children. The Ming Dynasty ruled China, and Europe was embroiled in a 30-year war. Given what this tree has survived and how short our time is in comparison, can you find it in yourselves to give this process this more time for due consideration that it deserves? Please halt the planned cutting of the David Meeker oak and allow time to consider alternative solutions for your planned infrastructure improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Hold on. Okay, I do not see Walt Jorgensen on, so I'm next going to go to Christina Manetti.
Are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
you. Yes.
This is Christina Manetti from Lakewood, and I'm here to ask you to I've been caught off guard. Here we go. I'm here to urge Mark. I'm a historian and a critical area. From what I've observed, the city of Tumwater seems to be ignorant of some of the fundamental facts. As a result, the city is acting in violation of the Department of Fish and Wildlife that are supposed to inform the city's policymaking. It was shot.
Yeah. But you're breaking up. Is it possible you can submit your comments in writing?
Uh-oh, you can't hear me?
It's breaking up, ma'am.
Uh-oh. Okay, I'll try to connect on a different computer. Thank you.
Next person.
Okay, I have a Tichomir Dunlop and I have a James Dunlop before them, but I can't identify them online. So I'm going to start with I know I'm not saying their name right, but the last name is Dunlop.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm on the same internet connection as Christina Manetti, so hopefully I'm not breaking up as well. Regarding the oak, it's incredibly disappointing to hear that you're planning on cutting it down, and I really want to urge you to reconsider. My name is Tichomir Dunlop, and I live in Lakewood, and for the last many years, we've watched how the city has completely disregarded the importance of these trees, let them be cut down left and right, and it's just been a hell just watching the way they've completely mistreated these trees. And this whole time I've thought that this was just a Lakewood problem, and maybe other cities might be better, but to see that Tumwater is even more brashly disregarding the importance of Gary Oaks is just really disheartening. Like that tree is probably one of the most, if not the most, impressive Gary Oaks I've seen, and to cut it down just thinking that it's theoretically a risk to traffic. I mean, every tree drops branches occasionally. What, you want to cut down every single tree in the entire city? You know, that tree has been there for centuries. It has a connection to the native people. Just to cut it down for what? It doesn't make any sense. Please listen to what everybody's urging you. Don't cut it down. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, if you cut it down now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people are going to be still remembering that tree and just thinking how much of a shame it was that it was cut down for nothing. So please reconsider, and that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person.
Now I'll have Beowulf Brower.
There, Beowulf Brower, Olympia, Washington. Well, here we go again. I'm not going to grill you today on the quality of the risk assessment done on the tree, the legality of violating the Migratory Bird Treaty Act or the associated RCW for the state of Washington, the wanton violation of municipal code, or the falsehoods perpetrated by certain city staff pursuant to this tree. These points have been made and will be made. They're all demonstrably true. They are also not the fault or the doing of this council. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I stand here once again to remind you are the legislative branch. The power to vote on actions and pass laws and ordinances lies with you. I plead to you now, do not let the executive branch, the port, or anyone else deprive you of your ability to represent your constituents. Tonight, God willing, you will have the chance to allow this wrong to be righted. Listen to the citizens, for they are loud. Listen to the science, for it is clear. Listen to your conscience, for it is loud and clear. All we seek is a second opinion. Would you not grant it for an elder of our nation? As you've witnessed today, or yesterday rather, a late season windstorm came across Tacoliga the other day. Dozens of trees fell across this county, as they always do. From this oak, this alleged hazard that scantily clings to stability, if you are to believe the report presented to the city, not a single twig fell from its wizened crown. This tree cannot speak in its defense, but I postulate that it seeks to show what it is unable to say. I pray that you listen to it. Thank you for your time and keep up the good fight.
Thank you. Next person.
The next to speak will be Sue Danver.
I'm going to pass at this time for the people in the audience. I can submit a written comment if I choose after tonight. Is that true?
You can always send comments.
Okay. Yes, yes, I'm gonna pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person. Excuse me. Excuse me.
I could stay home in the comfort of my home and taken some medications that I need to take. I need to know that.
All right. I'm sorry. I was not aware of your condition. So what I can do is I can then go to you next. Right. So this is not more than normal. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience, and how many more do we have online?
We have 9 people left.
Okay, let us finish this so we make sure we do not miss anyone, because sometimes going back and forth, someone gets missed. So go ahead with the next person.
The next to speak will be Steve Erickson.
Mute.
Are you there?
Hear me now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Steve Erickson. I live on Whidbey Island. I'm a botanist and restoration ecologist and an activist. You can act, and I'm urging you to do so, to prevent that tree from being cut down. What you do will reflect not only on you, individuals and members of the council now, but on the body of the city council for years to come. I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened in Oak Harbor on Whidbey Island, where I live. There was a large old oak tree near the post office, about 350 years old. There were concerns about its condition. It was a matter of public controversy. The mayor and city council met in secret, and they made plans and they executed those plans. They cut that tree down at 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning so that the public would be totally taken by surprise. Now, if you let that tree get cut now, it's going to reflect not just on you, but on the body of the city council for years to come, even though when you're not there. In Oak Harbor, people do not trust their city council now, and it's been a decade. Totally different people, totally different mayor. Now, you've got a rogue mayor. I'm just going to say it outright. The mayor is ignoring federal law, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Is ignoring state law regarding historic and archaeological resources. Is ignoring local law. Your own historic commission refused to grant a permit for this, grant an exception and variance to allow the tree to be removed. This is the time for in your public service when you have the opportunity to exercise oversight and act in the greater public good, the greater long-term public good. Your mayor is attempting to evade the laws I mentioned before. The reality is that after 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, that tree and the nesting kestrels in it will be cut as fast as that mayor is able to arrange. Basically, once the tree is cut down, it can't be stood back up again. Doesn't matter if other arborists and opinions think that that tree could be saved. Doesn't matter what the laws are. There's no remedy. The tree is gone, the birds are gone, and a significant portion of the history of Tumwater, of the history of the native peoples who lived there, will be lost. I'm going to just close and say, I urge you to take whatever steps you need to take tonight to prevent that tree from being cut down. Thank you.
Thank you. No clapping, please. Thank you. Next person.
We'll have E. Hest.
Are you there? Do you see them connected?
I do, but they're not unmuting.
Can you please unmute? Okay.
So we'll go to Mick Miazio.
All right.
Hi, my name is Mick Miazio. I live in Shelton, Washington. I am an arborist. I've been an arborist for about 15 years. I've been a certified arborist for more than a decade. I'm also a certified tree risk assessor. I would like to clarify something about the Davis Meeker oak. That tree is not dying. This is a notion perpetuated by people that want to cut it down. Last Friday, I went to court to see the restraining order against the cutting of the oak be challenged, where the council representing the parties wanting to cut down the oak perpetuated that notion, which I politely informed them that is not the case. They quoted the arborist report, which I don't believe is saying that. And I would like somebody, preferably the council, to hold these people accountable for the misinformation that they're spreading. If you go and stand under the tree, you will see that it's in pretty good health for being 400 years old. On a personal note, I was born in Poland, and I came to this country to live my American dream, which is being an arborist. And that's why I came to the state of Washington, primarily for the trees and the beautiful nature. This tree being 400 years old is a heritage remnant of the time where the air was pure. You could drink the water from the rivers and the streams, and our ecosystem was much better. I can't quite call it an old growth because of its singularity. It doesn't fall under that definition of the ecosystem. But it's equal to dog firs that are 8 feet in diameter and are 400 years old, or the redwoods. It's in that same category as far as I'm concerned. And to say it, drop the branch, which again, another notion that's perpetuated is that the branch fell into the lane of traffic, which is not correct. A part of the branch that fell ended up in that lane. How big, I'm not sure, but the majority of the branch fell under the tree, where there's no targets right under the tree. That area is protected. The targets are transitory. This is the process, identifying targets and the possibility of harm. That's the due process that happens when we think about that sort of things.
3 minutes.
Thank you for your time. And again, these trees are the last of the beautiful ecosystem we had, and they should not be rushed in cutting down. Thank you.
Next person
will be Danny B.
Hello. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. Please do not murder this tree. So many of us the town are still unaware of the danger facing this icon, which has been a picture of our community for much longer than anyone alive today. This tree was here long before our grandparents were born. Please do not come in quietly and take it down without giving the people who love it more chances to speak in its defense, and if it still must go, a meaningful chance to say goodbye before you remove it. Please do not kill it without first fighting to save it. Your communications with the public acknowledge that there are other options, and local arborists specify how feasible these would be. With pruning and cables, the risks, which many arborists say were overstated to begin with, could be mitigated. The trees should be cared for, not killed. Public safety is always a concern, but there are risks everywhere in life. Every tree could potentially fall. Have you studied every other tree by every road in Tumwater with the same degree of scrutiny? What about the buildings on the historic register? Do they all align with current safety codes? It would be hypocritical to destroy this tree for its supposed dangers if other risks are not receiving similar attention. As a lifelong resident of Western Washington, I'm very familiar with the danger of falling trees, and I've even had some close calls, but I still love and value them, even after one fell on my car. The safest thing to do regarding trees would be to cut down any that were within 100 yards of any path a person could ever conceivably cross. After all, with our wind and our rain, even the healthiest tree can be uprooted and fall across the road. It happens again and again. But I have seen places like that, places without trees, and I could never live in a place so barren. We are not called the evergreen state lightly. Our trees are part of our identity, and this tree is part of our community. If you had a sick loved one and there were solid treatment options available, would you tell the doctor, nah, that sounds too expensive, let's just get this over with now? Because it seems like that's what we're doing here. Have we learned nothing from history? How often have we suffered because someone chose the option that was cheap, fast, and easy rather than stopping to do their research and put forth a bit more effort? This tree has a long history of people investing in it. Time and again throughout the decades, the people have spoken, saying that this tree is important and that we should protect it. This was so important to us that it was even given special status to try to prevent it from being carelessly destroyed. This tree has survived countless earthquakes and storms and witnessed every milestone in our nation's history. As a teacher and a mother, I find myself more and more understanding that they're right when they say that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. They cannot uncut that tree. Once it is gone, it's gone. How will our children's children judge your actions here? Will they find a record of efforts being made to repair the tree and save it? Will they see that there was consensus in the community about the need to cut it? Or
3
will they only
minutes.
learn that despite controversy and protests, politicians use their power to go against the will of the people? Thank you.
Thank you. Next person.
I have Jenna Cook-Holmlund.
Are you
Hello?
there? Yes, go ahead. We
Can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I have a small statement about the tree. I feel passionately about the tree because I happen to be just a stay-at-home mom. I drive by that tree every day going to store, and it resonates with me so passionately because I'm a Native American woman, and not many Native Americans have the respect that people deserve to give in certain communities. And so I feel very passionate about the tree being cut down as such an awful, terrible thing because it is just such a beautiful, beautiful tree that has stood the test of time through even my ancestors. So I just simply wanted to say that I am very against the tree being cut down, and then I hope that everybody can reconsider having to chop it down and have that empty space of just making the road maybe bigger, the airport bigger. There's a lot of things that you could make there, but the tree could never be there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And now I have a Nicole Mercier.
Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I do not have a lot to say. Everyone has spoken, and everything that people have said is what I feel. I spoke to the Department of Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife today, who is going to go over and do an assessment of the situation with the kestrels. I believe she's going on Thursday, so hopefully the tree will still be standing at that time. But I just want to say that I'm vehemently opposed to this. I think that this is a hasty move. It's a rush to do this for whatever reason. I can't imagine. We had a huge windstorm today. Nothing fell. Nothing fell down. And that should give you an idea of how I can't even find a word for this, about how unfair it is to rush to do this. We need more information. We need more assessment. The assessments, I read all of them. It is not, I don't believe that it is a true assessment. I don't believe in what the person, I can't remember the guy's name, but I don't think that it was proper. I don't think that it was correct. And I think that we need more information. And if it is really opposed for someone's death, then we would have to take it down. But I don't think there's evidence of that. So everyone else has spoken very eloquently, and I would just like to leave it at that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's it online.
Great. Thank you. All right. Now I will move to those in council chambers. The first person, and again, come to the podium. What's that? Did you need to speak first, ma'am? Okay, so we'll go in order as sign up. Pamela Hanson, come to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I'll keep this short. Pamela Hanson, P.O. Box 14521, Tumwater, Washington. 1, I do not agree with cancellation of the June 18th regular council meeting. 2, the $1.7 million cost overrun of the Capitol Boulevard Trosper Road roundabout. I do not agree with increasing staff's authority to pay that. It needs to be an open public meeting and review. 3, I'm going to take you back in time to Mayor Ralph Osgood's administration. Some people know and some people don't know that in the 1980s, both Ralph Osgood and I reported to the comptroller of the Department of Revenue. That is my connection with him, along with testifying before he was mayor at the very first comprehensive plan for the city of Tumwater. What I experienced when Mayor Ralph Osgood was mayor is his style. When an issue was as important as this, it came to a full council vote, and his vote was part of that council vote, not the all-important vote. So I believe that this is a big enough issue that that's what needs to happen with this issue after it is fully vetted with the public and anyone concerned. Number 4, this is the flyer that has been, I don't know when it was created. It doesn't have a date on it. The first picture, it appears that part of where the branch separated from the tree is bark and not rotted wood. The second picture, it appears that the red line or widened red line overshoots the side of the tree. So I consider that an exaggeration. And on the back side, where it gives the cross section of the tree, I believe that may be an exaggeration because it, yes, has the x-axis and yes, it has the y-axis. It does not have the z-axis. So how much of that, is that a full 3 foot? Is it 4 foot? Is it 2 foot? Is it a slice? So the z-axis is missing on that. Number 6, I would like to verbally input the press release of June 3rd, 2024 from the davismeekeroak.org website. I was at the court on Friday only. I was not anywhere near what happened Monday. I think it's very well written. I think that should be added into the record. And lastly, number 7, I would like added into the record the Save the Davis Meeker Gary Oak Group leading multi-prong effort to save historic Tumwater tree, written by Jeffrey Westbrook of
3 minutes.
Thank you. The Jolt.
Chris Kautsky. Do you have a Laurie Weber?
Yes, I do. Hold on just a sec. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Yes, my name is Laurie Weber. I am speaking from Surrey County, Virginia. I am was a resident of Olympia and Tumwater, grew up there and went to high school there, and remember this tree and have been so moved by the community's efforts to save this tree. I am a history teacher. I teach the history of America. I live right across the river from Jamestown, where our country was established. And I teach 400 years of history, and this tree embodies this. And I remember growing up in Washington and feeling that there wasn't much regard for history, that people didn't care that much about history in Washington. It was always about progress, new, let's build something new, let's develop something new. And really that is what America has become. I see it growing around me. I see it with tearing down the old, disregard for history, disregard for our environment. And in our area, it has to do with the expansion of industrial solar farms. But in this instance, it's about a story of about a community. It's the story of the history of Washington. It's the story of people that came and settled there. It's the story of the Native American tribes. It's the story of the environment and the animals that have lived there. It is the story of Washington. And if we can't save this tree, I don't even know what is important with history. Why do we save anything? I just feel like it is crazy to me
that one tree is, you are all so intent on destroying one tree, which this one tree embodies so much of the story of what you are, of all of you. I look at you in Washington, I think this is the story of who you all are. So I would just ask that you stop, slow down, take some time. There is no rush on this tree. It stood for 400 years. You can wait a few more weeks, months, and think about what's happening. And for this windstorm to happen, and for the fact that this tree could stand so tall and strong during it, to me, says volumes. Just, I would ask you all to exercise patience, slow down in this process, and just listen to your community and think about this is your story is embodied in this tree. So that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to all those who have raised awareness on this problem. Thank you, board, for listening.
Do you see anyone else?
I do have somebody else that just registered for Debbie Bowes. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Are you there? They're not muted. Are they unmuted?
I've asked them to unmute.
Okay. We can come back and check later. Now we'll go to in council chambers, Chris Kautsky. Come and state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Chris Kautsky, and I live at 908 Delta Lane in Tumwater. I've lived in Tumwater since the 90s and raised 3 children here, and I'm going to talk fast because I have a lot to say. I'm also an environmental planner and a member of the American Planning Association and AICP certified, and as such, the principles of my profession compel me to speak out against the decision by this mayor to exercise administrative authority and cut down the Davis-Meeker oak. This tree means a lot to me. Others here will remind you of its age, the meaning to our native peoples, and the part of the history of the Oregon Trail. They'll tell you of its beauty and how it's sheltering federally protected wildlife. But when I drive past that tree, the road makes a jog around it, and I see something else. I see how my government, this government, balances the needs of modern life with the desire to preserve our heritage. The little jog tells me Tumwater is a good place to live. Have vision. It's our city government's responsibility to figure out how Tumwater will fill it into an economy where unique experiences are highly valued. This tree can be cherished for its place in our history and play a role in our future. We need time to find inspiration to identify and explore creative alternatives, reduce risk. Our mayor tells us that this tree is not safe and that if it fails, then the consequences would be dire. I remind this body that life is risky business. We assume risks every day. Why is the only option the irrevocable death of this tree's life? What about pruning? How about moving the road? How about thinking about real solutions? Optics. Hey, people, this looks bad. The appeal of our temporary restraining order, the rush toward demolition. There is talk in our community of hidden agendas, backroom politics, and secret partnerships. Is this what you promised us when you campaigned for office? The press is here. This looks bad. Public engagement. After staffing many public meetings over the years, I am very aware that each person that attends a meeting or gives a comment is standing for hundreds who don't have the time, don't understand the process, or feel their voice does not matter. Council members, look at the people in this room. Listen as they share what they value. The simple truth is policy is made by those who show up, and we are here. How many people usually attend a council meeting? You didn't even have enough chairs. How much interest is there in ongoing city business? How you handle this challenge will show exactly how this city values its public engagement. Instead of hiring lawyers, you need to hire a facilitator. Bring all the interested parties together, officials, city planners, scientists, arborists, tribes, wildlife biologists, and work toward compromise. Take action only when you show proper permits are in hand and you have buy-in by stakeholders. It's not too late. The tree still stands. We need action by this council's leader in this room. Override the mayor's decision. Embrace public comment. Embrace public engagement. I'm sorry, I can't talk fast enough, but I'm going to submit this in writing so you can read exactly what I had to say.
Thank you. Tasha Smith.
Tasha Smith. I'm from Olympia. I work in Tumwater. I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I just want to get together and have a conversation with all of you guys. I think that you'd have a lot to say about our community, and a lot to just say about how you feel about the tree and about the kestrels, which is why I'm here. So thank you for listening to all of us. I do want to say that it makes me cry because I think about my kids. We love birds, and they know about the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. I didn't, and I'm in my 40s. I didn't, but they did. And they do know that the whole thing started as a collaboration between America and Canada in protecting these birds that were coming back and forth. And it's just such a beautiful history there, that this working together. And so the kestrels are in the falcon family, in the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and they are protected. And it's not just from hunting. There's a whole list of things that they're protected from. Really, it's just saying anything you could possibly do. I'm surprised they don't have something saying shoot it out of the tree with a rock as a kid. They're just protected. And I'm just asking you, give them time. Let those birds grow, let them move. We're humans, we can keep talking, but please just don't cut it down so that those birds in that nest come down. I'm asking, thank you.
Thank you. Ray Gleason. You can just hand them to the clerk and she can pass them out. No, hand them to the city administrator. Name and address for the record.
Ray Gleason, 6226 Cedar Flats Road, Olympia. Talking about the Mavis maker oak, that it is a extremely rare remnant of the oak savanna that existed basically from all of Western Washington all the way down into Western Oregon. In each age class in Western Washington, there are less than 20 of them. And to think that we're considering removing that specimen without further assessment is not being mindful of the uniqueness of that specimen. It's irreplaceable. That was living in a time when this was a grassland. Douglas fir trees only existed in that soil type. The Douglas fir would have only existed around the creeks and the rivers. When talking about the assessment that was done, the sonic tomography, you only see one image of the sonic tomography that was done at the base portion of the tree. And so personally, I think that we need to be amicable. That the city of Tumwater needs to be looked at. Between the public and the city, we need to be coming out of this looking positively. As a scientist, I look at the sonic tomography as a great way of measuring the tree. Looking at it only at the base is inappropriate. That analysis needs to have been done multiple times and up throughout the entire canopy. They would call it an aerial analysis. That was not done. They used a rubber mallet and used sounding technique. And by hitting the trunk of the tree and listening and trying to imagine how hollow it was, and it was completely based on interpretation. Inappropriate. So, and then they drew this red line on the tree, imagining that they were correct. So that is inaccurate. And I would not use anybody that was trying to use that type of health analysis on me. I'd go to a different doctor. And that we're using that public funds to pay for that, inappropriate. And so an independent third-party analysis is needed at this time in order for the public to have an appreciation for the city of Tumwater. So that is where I would believe. And so let's ask for respect for the public's time and for future respect for the city of Tumwater. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret O'Connor.
I think there was a question about the sign-up sheet.
Oh,
I think
if I'm sure there's other people who came in after sign up sheet. I will double check and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. So just because you didn't sign up does not mean you have not had the opportunity. So we will follow up.
So my name is Margaret O'Connor. I come from planet Earth. I'm here to talk about a middle-aged 400-year-old historic tree. For one thing, there's fundraising going on for a bunch of lawyers on both sides and taxpayer money, and I don't see why that isn't devoted to actually caring for this tree. Now, I read on the website, this Tumwater website, the city arborist has overseen the care of this tree for 27 years, and according to you, the city, I believe, then I would say he's failed. Yet you listen to him. Roads can be moved. In fact, this road needs to be moved anyway. This tree needs help. There are physical supports for large trees involving corbels, cantilevers, guy wires, stations. There are these people called engineers, and they know how to do that. Now, Mayor, I have read where you said that you don't want to have to face the family of someone who runs into a traffic accident with a branch coming down from this tree. One answer to alleviate that situation, to relieve that from you, is that you can step down and you will not be in control of the situation and not responsible. Lastly, even I know that this tree, the ground and the tree, are on the Cowlitz Trail. It's a site of burials for both the native people and those who came after, a lot of travelers. And this tree chose also to spall off a branch, which apparently is known as a hanging branch, where a lot of Native Americans lost their lives. I urge the city to leave this tree and the heritage and everything it stands for, and that we help this tree go forward another 400 years and do something for the future generations and move the road.
Thank you. Mark Fleming.
I'm Mark Fleming. I live in Olympia, and I want to say, don't cut the tree down. If it's a risk, mitigate it, evaluate it, and find ways to do it. As Ms. O'Connor just said, you have engineers, you have a great deal of expertise available, and taking the time to thoroughly evaluate whatever risk a 400-year-old tree presents is a good way to preserve our heritage and culture. And I strongly urge you to do so.
Thank you. Bev Bassett.
My name is Bev are Beverly Bassett, and I live at 1218 Marion Street in Olympia. And I'm here to say that the deep irony of this whole evening was that we spent 45 minutes being informed about the Open Public Meetings Act, and that we have, you know, we have come so far from the 1970s when those laws were written by well-intentioned people who didn't have hidden agendas and who really expected the government to act in the best interest of the citizens. But we've come, here we are. It's 2024, and our democracy is shot to hell. And we're looking down the barrel of loss of what little democracy we have. And I have watched this city or this county. I've watched the Port of Olympia. I went to Port of Olympia meetings for 4 years. I hardly missed a one. I learned how corrupt they are. They are so deeply corrupt. It made me so sick. I had to stop going in 2017 because I was scared that the passion I felt towards these people who are acting in my worst interest.
Can you
let me calm down? I'm trying. That I was, you know, I don't believe for a moment that this tree is being cut down for safety. I know good and well that it's to expand the airport. And I know that you're just checking off the boxes and that you'll let all of us come and talk and you'll ignore us, every word we say, and cut that tree down on Thursday, and it won't make a bit of difference because our democracy is so gone. And the way you're acting, Mayor Sullivan, to get this tree cut down so you can expand the airport, well, we're wise to you. We know what you're up to.
Thank you. Chad Kramer. Your pass, okay. Eric Johansen.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity
You
to
can
visit.
pick that up a little bit if you want.
My name's Eric Johansen, live in Tumwater Hill neighborhood. Brought this specifically because there's actually a couple of Gary Oaks on city property. There's one off of 79th that I'm familiar with, and then there's the famous one that we're talking about tonight. The one off of 79th at the old Trails End property, apparently somebody loves that tree because that one is going to be protected. And not so much with the Davis Meeker Gary Oak. It seems a little bit odd to me. You guys were dealt a bad hand by DOT when they put the road in. They put it in too close to the tree. Move the road. That mitigates the risk. It's doable, and you have to redo your road anyway. It's in the plan. Fence it off if you need to. This is fixable. This is totally fixable. And I would really like the city of Tumwater to put as much effort into protecting this tree as they put into protecting a brew house. The brew house is great, right? 100 years old. When that tree was growing, my ancestors were in Europe. That's been a long time ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy Cooper.
Good evening, council members. I'm Cindy Cooper. I'm a 13-year resident of Tumwater. I live on Tumwater Hill on Ebbets Drive. I'm also a 22-year veteran of the WSDA, the Washington State Department of Agriculture. I'm speaking in support of retaining the Gary Maker oak, and I urge you to reconsider your decision to take it down. You've heard a lot of good expert comments tonight. I'm not going to reiterate any of that, but just want to point out that this is one of only 14 native oaks on city property. You did a survey of the city trees, and the folks that did that survey pointed out the importance of increasing the diversity of species upon city property. By removing this tree, you're not supporting that at all. And, you know, we have lots of great heritage projects in the city of Tumwater, for instance, the brew house. Lots of restoration going on for different projects. Why can this tree not be another opportunity for a great community project to, you know, express the history and the love of our heritage around that tree? As a horticulturist, I also want to point out that I've heard two people comment that there were some seedlings and cuttings taken from this tree, so that when it is cut down, there would be seedling progeny. I don't believe that that's being handled well at all. I think the seedlings should be put in the hands of experts rather than the folks that they're supposedly taking care of those now. We have a wonderful oak propagator very close by that could handle these seedlings for us. That's Burnt Ridge Nursery in on Alaska. He's an expert oak grower, one of the best in the country. So I'd urge you to handle those seedlings well, please. Also wanted to comment that at your May 14th meeting, there was a promise that there would be a survey handed out to the public for their collection of comments on what to do with the wood from this tree when it was cut down. And I want to know if you're going to provide that survey, where we can find that survey. Is it going to be given to people before this tree is removed? I think that's rather important. So I'll cut it short just to say, please reconsider your decision. There are other options. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to read the last name. So it's Sandia Slaby. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
That's okay. It's done all the time. My name is Sandia Slaby, and I am a resident of Olympia, live on Legion Way. I am left just incredibly baffled by this whole event in the last, let's say, couple weeks, hearing how short a time some of the aspects have been happening and how long a time this has been moving forward without notice to either the public or the native tribes, etc. I want to be respectful of you all as a body and individuals. That's a challenging thing for me and my nature. I'm very angry, and I could be really inappropriate. I should say I struggle to be inappropriate. I struggle to be appropriate. But I am really baffled. And what I'm left with is wondering, who is it you're listening to? I know we're supposed to speak to the whole body, but it's clear who you're not listening to. You're not listening to your city laws, your state laws, or your federal laws. And we had a huge lesson this week that there is nobody that's above the law in this country. As a body, I hope that you will take all these statements, some of them being genuinely more respectful, genuinely more respectful individuals than myself. But when authority figures do this kind of thing without total transparency, especially with the irony of the little tutorial we got about open meetings. And that's like bizarre. I came wondering what has happened in secrecy or over the years or whatever. I don't know, of course, but I'm left wondering. But I feel whenever I come to city council or meetings about important things where decisions have been made and you all hold open meetings because you know you have to, I feel like we're groveling. And I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel like I'm being invited to engage and that you all are genuinely listening. It's hard to believe that, but I want to. So I hope you will listen. I hope you will reconsider. I hope you will give more time. I hope this tree is able to stay with us and stay on Earth longer than us. And I hope that you'll move the damn road.
Thank you.
Instead of the tree.
Katrina Simmons.
Good evening. My name is Katrina Simons. I'm currently an unincorporated county resident. But when I was growing up, my dad had a house on X Street, and my former wicked stepmother still has a house on Henderson Boulevard that I make gestures to every time I drive by. So I grew up here. This feels like home to me. We roamed a lot on, we had horses, we were at Trails End. Like, this area is home. So while I lived in other places in the military, this is home. My military service let me live in Germany for 4 years and spent a year in Iraq. And those are places with a lot of history. And we see a lot of architecture, and people go there to see the buildings that are 500 years old, 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old. They don't come to see natural beauty. That's what people come to America for, because we tear everything down that is old. Living in Europe really taught me what a young country we are. And so I guess while maybe some members of the city council might see this as just a single tree, I feel like this is emblematic of America's tendency to tear down anything that is old and not value history and not see the breadth. This tree predates European colonization of this continent. It shares its history with our local tribal nations. It's seen wilderness and war and drought and industry. It's not dead. You can tell that it's living with the leaves. It has animals subject to the Migratory Bird Treaty Act living in it. It's survived our winters. It's lived through so much. It's on our historic register for a reason. And just like we lose our history by tearing down the buildings, we lose our history by tearing down things like this too. There are other options. I think the public would be a lot happier with an independent analysis and mitigation options. The way this has gone down has not fostered trust in the city council or your process, or in some cases your motivations. It's just really destroying the trust of the community at the same time as you're just wanting to destroy the history. The Gary oak is the only oak that's native to our area. We need species diversity in this time. Our children are growing up and they need to have a livable earth.
3 minutes.
Just because a tree can't scream, it doesn't mean it's any less of a death if you cut it down. So if there are ways to preserve it, we really urge you to preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ariana Simons.
Hi, my name is Ariana Simon, and I currently live in unincorporated Thurston County. I'm 11 years old, and even I know that that tree is very important to so many people. I really do believe that that tree can be saved, and I want it to be saved. My friends and I many times have discussed that we want that tree there. We know that it's salvageable. We believe that it's truly alive. We don't think we should need to shout to be heard. You have said that you don't want to look in the eyes, sorry, I'm stuttering, of someone who has lost someone in a car accident because of that tree. I also believe that you could not look me in the eyes and say, I am going to disregard what you are saying, and I am going to chop down a historical tree, a piece of living history. I need you to listen. I need you to respect everyone who is here and their wishes for this tree. This tree is important. It's living. And I do not believe, and I think that if you cut down this tree, I will never be able to trust you. And I don't believe, and I know that if I can't trust City Council to make good decisions, I don't know what kind of decisions they'll make. I don't know if they'll make decisions that will hurt people. And that makes me feel incredibly unsafe. So I urge you to reconsider your decisions about this tree. I encourage you to save it. And I encourage you to listen to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand, but no clapping, please. Teri Graves. Do we have a Teri Graves here? Oh, okay, sorry.
My name's Teri Graves. I'm Cowlitz Indian tribe. That trail belongs to my grandfather. So first I want to acknowledge that you guys haven't done a land acknowledgement to honor the people of this land. All other cities, county governments do a land acknowledgement. Slap in the face, thanks very much. So welcome to my homelands. Welcome to Washington. We have trees. The wind goes, trees come down. Call 911, fire cuts it, moves it out of the road. It happens, it happens. So if you're so concerned about this, move the road. So as my grandfather Roy would say, you're a guest on our land. The Cowlitz Trail has been our highway of commerce since time immemorial. My great-grandfather, the chief of chiefs, Chief Skaniwa, controlled the trade routes from what is now Canada all the way to the big waters of the Columbia River until his death in 1827. My grandfather Skaniwa and the 7 generations previous to him and the 7 generations after him have traveled that Cowlitz Trail, have passed that grandmother tree. Our people stopped for shade and rest as it was used as a marker tree within a large area of grasslands. This grandmother oak has guided many of my tribal relations. We touch her, we offer her prayers, we sang to her, we gift her. We thank her for her guidance. We believe everything has spirit. She is a beautiful living being. Who do you think you are to take such a life? Many burials have had we have planted trees to mark the burial site. My homestead on Fort Lewis has oak trees at the gravesite heads. I tend to look at the non-native relations here on the indigenous land. You drink the same water my ancestors drank. You eat the food off this land. You fish in our rivers. You carry some of the land and water and animal DNA of this land. And with that, you have a responsibility to this land, this water, and this grandmother oak. And this is all for $1. So have you heard of the Centennial Accord? You should probably educate yourself on it. I was hoping the Attorney General gentleman would like stay and educate you about it. I have contacted Ferguson to try to educate you about the accord. You have not consulted any of the tribes in this area. So I'm gonna say, learn about it and abide by it. Move the road, protect my plant relations and the winged relations that are living within it. We're about to lose them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Greg, Lamar Grove. I'm sorry if I messed up the middle name. I just couldn't read the writing. I'm sorry.
First time here. Thank you, council people, mayor. Oh, sorry. Let me use my longhouse voice for you. From the mouth of your own babes, huh? Those are your children talking to you. I am a member of the Cowles Indian tribe. I come from the Lusky and Katompian family. I live down in Chehalis now. I was going to tell you I live in America. It's okay. And tell you that you don't seem to understand our history. So I'm going to try to help you out a little bit. That trail, as Teri referred to, has been there for a long, long time. It was our trail of commerce. It was our trail of trade. It still is. 8 years ago, 3 of us men, and I'm an older guy now, so it was kind of tough, but we walked that trail. We took 5 days from the Cowlitz River, slept by the road. My brother, Randy Cottonware, I went home. He slept by the road. Point is we touched all of those places that we were told about by our elders. And now I'm an older man. We stopped by that tree and we remembered. We remembered that it's a marker for us. It points a direction. Archaeology and anthropology issues need to be addressed. You as a council, I believe, are supposed to be in consultation with the tribes that that tree has an effect upon. Talking to you about the trade routes, 5 of our tribes here in this area always traded and always married. That would be the Cowlitz, the Chehalis, Squaxin, Nisqually, and Puyallup. All 5 of those tribes have an interest in that trail. We took our horses when we had them. We drug our dugouts up to the falls. We were there with our relations of Squally. We fished. Many of you probably don't even know that there's an old camp right there where the creek comes down. It's our history. It's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves upon the land, different than the modern society. But just because we live in a modern society doesn't mean that we don't remember that stuff. I would hate to be in the middle of a lawsuit with the city of Tumwater because you know federally recognized tribes have standing. And you also have to know that individual federally recognized Indians have standing. I have standing in court to address you. You really need to do the consultation part. That tree is way past important. Thank you for the 3 minutes.
Thank you.
I've got a lot more to say, but maybe another time.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I can't, I'm having trouble reading this name. Is it Derek Langeskia? I'm sorry, I can't read it very well. It's at 1396 89th Street, 89th Avenue. Okay, sorry, I could not read the writing. I apologize.
Mayor, council members,
Can you move towards the microphone, please?
I have to use my command voice.
I know, but we can't hear the recording.
Honorable Mayor, council members, and honorable citizens. There's so much I could say. I'm kind of like a village idiot. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel, and I have the highest honor the National Guard had to offer. But that doesn't make me a bit better than any of you. And so just bear with some of the ugliness I have to say. Regarding trust in the Tumwater City Council, this is not directed at any of you individually, but at the concept, at the council, as it has happened. I have, at risk of alienating anyone, I'll first state two situations that impacted me regarding the faith and the concept of our city council. Like I say, not directed at any of you individually. On one occasion that I needed assistance from the Tumwater Police in a domestic situation, I was required to call at least 3 times before they responded. And when they did, one of the officers threatened me with being shot for attempting to get a pack of cigarettes out of my pocket. On another occasion involving the Tumwater City Council, they levied a fine of $10,000 to a family next door for having a rooster with their flock of hens. Only reason I mention this is to show that at some time this council didn't use very much common sense. And now I don't know that they can grasp the concept of sacred. And I value what the previous people have spoken of. Sacred is a non-tangible concept that can't be touched physically, but it is a phenomena that we all readily perceive, including this council. That tree is sacred, treated as such. You will gain faith by saving that tree. You will lose faith by cutting it down, and you will gain faith by changing your decision to cut that tree down. And faith is the most important thing that you all can hold on to. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharron Natra, I'm sorry, I cannot read the last name. Sharron? It might be, yes, on Tully Road. Yep.
Thank you, Sharron Coontz, out in the county in Tilly Road. As public opinion grows against the mayor's continued refusal to change her arbitrary decision to kill the oak tree as soon as possible, I can't help but wonder how she could be so set on this course as to not just say quite logically, okay, I'll give you other arborists a chance to prove you can make the tree safe. Let's pause and have you prune and brace the tree. If you can make it safe, even just for now, we can at least avoid killing the birds and breaking the law and save some birds nesting in the tree, and then we can revisit this. It's especially odd that there's no compromise offer at all from the mayor when she must realize that a recall campaign is obviously coming very soon if she goes ahead with this plan. There truly is no logical reason for holding on to such an unpopular position and refusing to even consider the offered and easy solutions. The panic over public safety, I'm sorry, no offense meant, but it doesn't seem entirely genuine, because if it were, we'd have heard about the danger soon after the branch fell, not months, many months later. So it leaves many of us wondering what's behind this attempt to break a long-held pledge, often affirmed in many official Tumwater documents, a pledge that the tree will be protected. That pledge is even stated in the current Tumwater Highway Corridor study about widening the road. So that's one behind the scenes story, and I guess possible motive that maybe we're just not hearing much about. The other involves the Port of Port of Olympia, where Lisa Parks used to work, and their plan, which will at least be partially revealed this summer, to enlarge the airport. The tree would have to go for that purpose, for that to happen. And if it does, frankly, I wouldn't be too surprised if our other historic impediment to airport enlargement, when you read their documents, you'll see the adjacent Washington State Patrol hangar, which is historic also, but it would be found suddenly to be a safety hazard or something, I suspect. And if this sounds wildly conspiratorial, and it might to some of you, there are documents with facts that make it all quite plausible. So let's have some common sense here. Stop the killing of the tree and the birds for now. And remember, the birds being there makes the killing illegal. So there's no losing face by pushing the pause button. Tumwater has nothing to lose by doing so, unless you were party to some sort of secret plan or agreement. And I hope you're not. It does sound plausible to me, however. If not, let's get busy letting the experts try to make this historic, iconic tree safe, this sacred tree, as many have pointed out, perhaps to live another 100 years at least. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Brunel? Okay. Astrid Sturm?
Going to be really quick because everybody's said everything that has been said. It's a beautiful tree. I live at Scott Lake. I drive by that tree every day. I'm not from here. I'm from the desert. I'm from New Mexico. And I know what these trees mean to these people. When you see these trees in the desert for the natives, they need these trees. These trees mean everything to the people that came before us. These trees mean everything to us. When we drive by them, we can move the road. A road is easy to move. A tree that falls that everybody wants to see up. Everybody's here for this tree, this one little tree. I don't know what else to say that everybody else hasn't already said, except that this community wants this tree here. And they were willing to drive around the road. They are willing to put up with road traffic to, if you have to move the road to save the tree. Trees are going to fall. They all fall. I live in a forest. My trees fall all the time. But let the tree fall on its own. I don't think the assessment's been done well enough. I don't understand why it has to be tomorrow. Why can't there be further evaluations on this tree? A limb fell October 23rd, 2023. And less than 6 months, we're going to cut it down. Why can't we just evaluate just a little bit longer? And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Sue Sikora.
Thank you. Sue Sikora, Olympia, Harrison Ave. And what a beautiful community turnout. So I just want to thank everybody, including the council, once again, for making space for this. Thank you for hearing us. And I know we can't make noise, but I think we can go like this. So how many people are here for the tree tonight? Thank you. I reside in Olympia, but I work in Tumwater, passing this tree 6 times a week. And each time I say, hello, beautiful. I honor your grandeur. This is a difficult issue, and I respect that. I have compassion for each of you council members, each of you. I see that you're trying and doing your best to navigate a unique and unprecedented situation for Tumwater. I heard you say in the last council meeting that you've never dealt with this before. It's a first, and it's hard, and I appreciate that. Thank you for taking the extra time for this discussion and this issue. When I ask, when did this problem start? You know, one of the rules of problem solving is identify the problem. When did it start? I have limited knowledge compared to you all, but from my view, it started when there were no guidelines, as you all have said before, unprecedented. You didn't have any rules to follow. And when there were no guidelines, we kind of went sideways. When it comes to how to make decisions for this special tree, we need special guidelines. It's not just any tree. As you know, it's a sacred tree. This tree is one of a kind, a first for Tumwater, both a tree and a historic landmark. That's incredible. I'm sorry there weren't better guidelines for you in dealing with this. It's not too late to create those guidelines for not only this situation, but also so it's clear for next time it may occur. Other cities have done this same thing with similar trees, so you would not have to start from scratch. You don't have to invent the wheel. Just look to the other cities even in our state. We can just copy them. I continue to have faith in your leadership to guide us, all of you, to guide us through this together, to find a way to save this tree and provide public safety. This tree is a special tree. It needs special experts on heritage tree preservation. The only company with this expertise is Tree Solutions. The company name is Tree Solutions.
Thank you.
Red flag, one last sentence. Will you give them a chance? Give Tree Solutions a chance to help us create a path forward. Thank you.
Jeff Foster.
My name is Jeff Foster. I live at 3104 59th Court Southeast in Olympia. And until I retired a few years ago, I was an ecologist working in the forestry program at Joint Base Lewis McChord. Over the course of 24 years, I had the opportunity to observe and to measure thousands of oaks, because I think we have more Quercus garryana on the Joint Base than anywhere else in Washington. And we have some really big and impressive trees there. But I attended the rally at the Davis Meeker Oak, I think it was a couple of weekends ago. And the more time I spent observing and walking around it, the more impressed I was. It has a larger diameter, it's taller and probably older than any oak I ever saw on the Joint Base. And it certainly had a lot of history. As an ecologist, I'm used to trying to decipher what's happened over the lifetime of a tree. But I had a couple of regrets while I was there. One was knowing that the tree might be cut down soon. And the other was that there it was between an airport hangar and a paved road, whereas originally it was growing out in native prairie next to an historic trail. And I've spent a lot of time in native prairies and trying to preserve them too, both on and off the base. So the context for the tree has been lost, but we can still remember that. This is a unique tree. There's just nothing like it anywhere around here. And I don't think you want to make a hasty decision on this. Take your time, do it right. By the way, I talked to an arborist there at the rally, and he said that he and some other arborists felt that there had been an overestimation of the amount of decay in the tree. And the branch that had fallen last October, he had cut out a cross section from it just close to where it attached to the main trunk. And it was there at the rally, showed it to me. There was no rot in that cross section. And I just tried to do a rough count of the annual growth rings on it. The branch alone is 150 years old, approximately. So thanks for this opportunity to have this input.
Thank you. Debra Jaqua, thank you.
Thank you, council members. My name is Debra Jaqua, and I live in unincorporated Thurston County. I echo all the statements that have been made to save this oak tree. And I really hope that each and every one of you listen listen to what people are expressing about this tree. It's important. And we're just a drop in the bucket of the people that really care about this tree. Someone said that it's sacred. It is. Please keep that in mind. Save the tree. Thank you.
Thank you. Sara Stewart.
Hi, Sara Stewart. I live in Tenino, and anytime I need milk, I drive past the tree. I'm going to try to stay organized since I have not very much time. I want to first speak to everybody, the entire council, all of the behind the scenes people, and everybody here and everybody who has shown support over the last months, really. But recently, you know, it's really incredible. Sorry, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. But it is very ironic, the training that took place that we all got to endure. I am glad for that. But in light of that, I think I need to say that, you know, everybody is here to be heard and to communicate with all of you how not only we feel, mostly how we feel though, but just the amount of knowledge that I have gained over the last 2 weeks from the incredible people that are involved in this effort. It's really a remarkable group of people. And if you guys could spend time listening, I really think that would grow a lot of mutual respect from everybody. Okay, I'm gonna seriously try to stop crying. Last Friday, we had a gentleman that Pamela brought out to hold signs. We were holding signs, and he made one that said, "Save the tree, honk." And I wish I had taken video, because about 8 out of every 10 cars waved and honked. So just as someone pointed out, you know, that each one of us, you know, we really do represent the community as a whole. And so I think you need to, I need to speak faster. I want to read something that I found online, AOL.com. I'm quoting here: "Various Native American tribes understood the hawk as a messenger, bringing insight, discernment, and focus into our lives. Across ancestral traditions, the hawk represented clear vision, intuition, and the ability, to swiftly rise above any challenges or obstacles in our way." Thought that would be nice to share. I recently went on a road trip across the country to Florida and back, and I got to see our beautiful country. But the thing that impressed me the most was coming home to Washington and seeing our big, beautiful trees. There's nothing like them. So let's save them, especially the ones that are so significant. Thank you.
Thank you. Arthur Worth. And I probably did not say that name correctly.
Hello, my name is Art Worth. My residence, Tumwater residence is 2409 Sap Road. I've been a Tumwater area resident since 1951. I'm formerly the business manager of Timberland Regional Library behind you, and retired as the finance director of Ocean Shores. I'm speaking in opposition to the decision to cut down Tumwater's historic oak tree. I want to talk about a statistic, so no clapping yet. It has to do with the risk statistic. The mayor's quoted a study showing that there were 407 deaths from wind-related tree failures in the United States, and that's been one of the justifications for cutting down the tree. So that's from a study from Kent State University, which is authoritative and reliable, but it has almost nothing to do with the Davis Meeker Gary oak tree, and I'm going to parse it for you. So I'll wake you up in 2 minutes. There are 407 deaths from in the study, but the study covered 13 years. So there's actually 31 tree-related deaths in the United States per year. 2/3 of them are associated with thunderstorms, hurricanes, and tornadoes, none of which are events that we rarely experience in Tumwater, and half of them don't have anything to do with vehicles. So when you parsed out the category, per the study, there's only 6 tree-related deaths per year relating vehicles in this category. Now, this category covers the Pacific Northwest and the Mid-Atlantic. So if you split it 50-50, that means that there would be 3 deaths per year in our area. But it's actually in the report, if somebody's actually read it, there are 2 average of 2 tree-related fatalities in the state of Washington per year from this situation, and that included all categories of causes and locations. So if you take out the non-vehicle ones, there's 1 tree-related vehicle death-related from a vehicle per year, and the study includes trees that fell down in the road hours earlier and people drove into them. So there might be there's from between 1 and 0 trees per year that have fallen on people's heads. And that's to compare. I want to compare that with the 407 deaths that's being used to justify it. And I want to put this into a complete perspective. According to the recent University of Utah study, the number of people killed in the U.S. annually in deer vehicle accidents is 440. In other words, you're over 70 times more likely to be killed by Bambi than you are to be killed by an old oak tree. So I don't want to discount the potential public safety issue, but there are solutions. They're documented for protecting the tree and the public safety, and I ask you to consider those. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Nicandri.
I'm sorry I have to follow that. Dave Nicandri, 505 4th Avenue Southwest. I was on the city council in the 1970s, and I was a member of the Historic Preservation Committee that had this issue under study. And I'm the former director of the Washington State Historical Society. And I was introduced to Tumwater history in 1972 by Jim Brown, who took me to meet a fellow by the name of Albert Rutledge, who we were trying to save the cemetery over on Little Rock Road. And Mr. Rutledge, who was 90 at the time, again, this is 1972, kept referring to his uncle Jesse, who upon further inquiry was identified as Jesse Ferguson, who was one of the original American settler pioneers who came here in 1845. So my ancestry and connection might not go back as deep as some, but I'm standing here today as a person who spoke to a person who spoke to a person who were the first American colonists on Puget Sound. And for this tree to be ripped down, it's just simply an absolute travesty. And now let me speak to the root of this problem, no pun intended. I have a JD, but it's an honorary. But I've seen enough law and order procedurals, and I know the consequence of fruit from the poison tree. Mr. Althauser can give you a more detailed analysis of this. We saw the original report. It was flawed. A group of historians with no botanical expertise determined that the forms that informed his judgment that the tree should be cut down was wrong, mistaken. We pointed that out. He refused to engage in peer dialogue. He would come to a meeting, but he wouldn't answer any questions of other botanists. Now, isn't it interesting that I've seen reference to 2 or 3 dozen botanists over the course of the last 3 months? And there's only one botanist on record who's in favor of cutting the tree down. Every other botanist that's on the record says, we're missing something here. So I would just end with this. I've had 4 books published in the last 10 years, 14 years, all of them peer reviewed. Peer review is not a comfortable thing to go through if you're a professional in any discipline. You have to lay your reputation on the line. You have to defend your thesis, and the consultant upon which every one of these decisions is being based refused to engage in peer review. And I don't know how in good conscience you can proceed on a decision when every other arborist who's offered an opinion offers a contrary point of view, and the one upon which you're basing your decision refused to engage in peer review dialogue. So, fruit of the poison tree, that pun is intended.
All right, those are all the ones that I have on the list. Do I have any others that signed up online?
I do. I have 4 more online.
And then I will get to those who missed in council chambers, okay?
Okay, so the first is going to be Christina Manetti, who had the poor connection before.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for coming back to me. I'm sorry about that. I don't know exactly what was the matter. This is Christina Manetti from the Gary Oak Coalition. It's an environmental nonprofit in Lakewood. I'm here to urge you to preserve the Davis Meeker Gary Oak as both a historical landmark, I'm a historian, and a critical area. From what we've observed, the city of Tumwater seems to be ignorant of some fundamental facts. As a result, the city is acting in violation of the law and without regard to the intention of WDFW guidelines that are supposed to inform the city's policymaking. It was shocking to hear the city's representative at the proceedings last week say that the Migratory Bird Act only relates to the hunting of birds, and even more unbelievable to witness that the judge accepted this falsehood unquestioningly. Yes, the Trump administration changed the law to weaken the protections, but Biden administration restored them. So if the city of Tumwater cuts down the tree, it will be breaking the law while nesting kestrels are using it. The WDFW habitat biologist Darren Masters confirmed that it is illegal to cut it down, as well as WDFW's Jennifer Ermiston. The city of Tumwater also appears to be ignorant of WDFW's management recommendations for Gary Oaks, which are also called Oregon white oaks, that's the term that's used in those publications, that were published in 1998 and in January this year. These are supposed to inform the city's policies regarding Gary Oaks, and there is no sign in the Tumwater Municipal Code that the city has based their policy decisions and regulations on these recommendations. I couldn't find the word Gary Oak or Oregon white oak in the municipal code. I just couldn't. Because Tumwater has not based its municipal code on these recommendations, the city has failed to identify Gary Oaks as critical areas. Even single Gary Oaks that are valuable to wildlife, as this one is, qualify, and they should be. See the 1998 recommendations. Because Tumwater has failed to include the Gary Oaks as critical areas, the city therefore allows these critical areas to be destroyed without any talk of mitigation. For example, in the 2024 recommendations, you see that just for just one Gary Oak of 30-inch diameter at breast height, 250 young Gary Oaks would be required as mitigation. But you see that the impacts are to be avoided in the instance in that publication, to be avoided. In the 1998 recommendations, it clearly says that Gary Oaks on the west side of the Cascades should not be cut down except for stand enhancement. Mitigation for large oaks is impossible. There would be a temporal gap in the habitat of hundreds of years while the small ones grow, and we don't even know whether in the new climatic conditions they will become large. As a result, Tumwater will be allowing a net loss of critical areas, which is in violation of the Growth Management Act, which requires that there be no net loss. The city is also ignorant of basic ecological principles that must be considered when making decisions about this and other oaks. The city looks at the oak as something that is dangerous because it might kill a human being because it loses a branch. It is actually more valuable because it has rot. And you can see this in the 2024 recommendations. You must guide your policies according to what is best for this oak and the ecosystem, not only what is expedient for humans. Stop thinking only about humans. It is because of people like you and nightmarish decisions like this one that we're facing the environmental crisis we are in today. But you can help fix it. Protect this Gary Oak. Thank you very much. I appreciate coming back to me.
Thank you. Anyone else online?
Yes, we have 3 more. We have a James Dunlop.
James Dunlop, can you please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is James Dunlop and I am a resident of Lakewood. I just wanted to make a couple of points about city councils and my observations. I think that many people regard that their city councillors as being there to represent their interests, and I think that they put a lot of faith in their city councillors to look after their interests. And having looked at how city councils certainly operate in Lakewood and Tacoma, I do think that there is a problem. And I think that city councillors do have to be aware as they go into the job of the kind of pressures that they're put under, that there is an incredible pressure to conform. And I think that a social psychologist like Irving Janis, when he wrote that book Groupthink, he was talking about the Bay of Pigs, talking about the Kennedy cabinet making this disastrous decision to invade Cuba. Those are really highly intelligent, articulate people, and even they were pressurized into making a disastrous decision. I think this is a disastrous decision like you are about to make, I think. But the pressure is quite enormous. There's also a second pressure that if you have made a decision that you really want something done, it's human nature to want to dig your heels in and to sort of accept that, I don't want to back down. It's human nature not to want back down. We all have strong egos, but sometimes it is the right thing to do. And so I think city councillors do need to be aware of the pressure. You are there. Sorry, I can't address you, but city councillors are there to look after the interests of those they're representing. In this particular instance, they're there to look after the residents of Tumwater, and you need to be aware of that. And you're not there to look after the interests, for example, of city bureaucrats, who have their own ideas about development, and they kind of see you as ways to rubber stamp what they want to do. And so I think you need to sort of take a step back from where you are and the pressures that you're under, and to just look at what is actually going on. Because if that tree comes down, which is, after all, it's illegal for it to come down, it's not only illegal, it's immoral. And if that comes down, you will be blamed forever, because that tree cannot be put back up again. It takes hundreds of years for an oak to grow. So I think I think city councillors need to think very carefully about it. And it's a time, I think, for a bit of bravery.
Thank you.
Now I have a Mariana Dane, and I don't have her under my list by name, but I'm going to let 2 phone numbers speak.
Okay. Go ahead. No one there? Okay.
No. So now we can go to the last one that registered online, which was a Kyle Nicholas.
Go ahead. Are they muted?
I've asked them to unmute, and they can talk.
Okay. We will go ahead and move on. Yeah, and we will go in chambers now. So those are the individuals who signed up, and I am seeing a lot of people who have not spoken. So I'm assuming that there'll be more people who would like to speak. So if you could come to the podium, and I will one at a time, please. One at a time. If you don't mind, can I have someone take this and have that, since there's so many, can I have someone have those other individuals sign up, please? And then I'll go ahead and have them sign up. So whoever the first person is on the list, can you come up and state your name, and then that way we can get things moving? Name and address.
I'm Janine L., and I have a home on Tumwater Hill on 4th Avenue. There's not much I can add here that hasn't been so beautifully stated already. Bev, you definitely stole the thunder on the irony of the Open Public Meetings Act tonight, and that focus on transparency, which is the first thing I really want to say. That the transparency in this process on many multiple levels has been very poor, and especially when it comes to why this tree even needs to come down at all. We know it's not safety because it was a year ago that the branch fell. From the records I've seen, there's conflict there on that date. But that branch fell a year ago, and yet we're here today dealing with it for the first time. So there's no emergency when it comes to the danger that this tree represents to the public. There does seem to be a hidden agenda here at some point that we're all discovering. We don't know what it is. And even members of your own city council don't seem to understand why the urgency of this tree, or even the fact that it needs to come down at all, is happening. But here's where we are in this moment. We've got a pair of nesting kestrels that are in the cavity of the tree with assumably some babies involved. And we've contacted the U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the Portland office of the Migratory Bird Treaty Act that enforces permitting and law enforcement of that act. And the message is very clear. If anyone touches or disturbs that tree with those birds nesting in it, is simply not allowed. That's the law. And that's the law that you'll have to follow in this. We've been told by official Tumwater staff and officers that the mayor claimed that she'd consulted the tribes in this issue. Yet our consultation with the tribes, the Cowlitz, the Nisqually, and the Squaxin, would tell us that that's not true, that this consultation did not take place. We have been, I've been involved with this process for nearly 4 months now, from February, when this first kind of started, the process of this started. And the process around this beloved, historic, protected, and very alive and healthy Meeker oak is totally lacking in transparency and truth-telling.
3 minutes, thank you.
All right, thank you. This has been a faithless and difficult process, and I'm asking the city council to act, and I'm asking the mayor to get into truth and to give this tree its due, which is to protect it
3 minutes,
and to preserve it for future generations.
All right. I just have a lot of initials here. Janie L., can you come and, oh, sorry. All right. Kepler F. And can you state your full name for the record, please?
Hi, my name is Kepler Felton, and I live in West Seattle. And I was just learning about this tree recently, and I wanted to say that every time I learn more about what's happening with this tree, I am more and more disappointed with what people are doing about it and how this is coming along. And I will say that most people in the audience here are to support this tree and it not being cut down. And if after all of these people pouring their hearts out and saying, don't cut this tree down, you still ignore them and cut it down for reasons that you think are important, but the community says no. These are the people you think you're affecting. They say no. They say don't cut it down. Please don't. Because that tree, in not just this story, but throughout many generations before, is part of the community, not just part of the landscape or part of what exists. It's part of the community. And if you chop it down, you're chopping down part of the community and part of all of us. So even after all this, if you decide to cut it down, then in my opinion, you deserve all the hatred that comes back at you, all of the absolute wrath towards you, the malice that people will say when they think of you. You kind of deserve that because you didn't think it through. And people will just be so angry at you. And for even when you're dead, in the history books, they will say this person was a jerk to everyone. And that's about it. That's all people will think of you. Don't be that person. Thank you.
Thank you. No, excuse me, no clapping. Thank you. Diana Kiley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have heard people speak from the experts on the condition of the tree. We've heard emotional requests. I'm going to go a different direction. And first, I'm going to make an observation that the sense of dismissiveness and apathy that I'm sensing from this governing body is really hurtful. So where I'm going to start with my 3 minutes or 2 minutes and 25 seconds, is I'd like you all to draw attention to that first picture. They wouldn't be here if it were not for the Cowlitz people and our river, the Cowlitz River. You didn't get here except through us. That history must be preserved. And we've got the historian that can back me up on this. My ancestors toiled, carrying their belongings by canoe, building wagons, then to transport them over land, to bring them to this very place. What kind of gratitude are you going to give them? You wouldn't be here if you had not come through Cowlitz country with Cowlitz labor, Cowlitz help, Cowlitz transportation. I really, really need you to understand that it's more than the tree. It is the decision to save a tree is one matter, but a decision to preserve history and to treat us, the Cowlitz people, the Nisqually people, the Puyallup, Squaxin. Remember us. We live with you. You got here only through us. So give us back this little piece of our land, preserve it, memorialize it, and honor it. Build your airport. Go ahead. But leave that piece. You can build around it, move the road, move the airport. I watched from an aerial view. You have plenty of space to expand without taking out our history again. The apathy I'm sensing here has to be the apathy that I felt or my ancestors felt at the Treaty of Medicine Creek. The Cowlitz refused to sign that Medicine Creek Treaty because we wanted our lands intact, not to be put somewhere else on the road, put aside and disregarded. And that's what's happening here now. So I'm going to ask this council, please take a vote tonight to postpone this until our people have a chance to weigh in. You've denied us that. You know from my previous statement that both the Nisqually and the Cowlitz just went through new elections. We have no leadership to make a decision. Give them time to talk to you and weigh in. We, as my brother said, we have standing. Honor that standing. I see, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Barnaby C.
Hi, I'm Barnaby. I live in Olympia.
Could you state your last name, please?
Caldwell. And I am just coming up really quick to say that I'm representing. I really resonate with what people were saying before about how everyone here is representing people who are too tired or too busy to be here. And I'm representing younger adult voters, I guess. And that's an important part. We're voters and we pay attention to this sort of thing. We care about trees and we care a lot about local elections. Some of us care more about local elections than bigger elections that may be coming up. We take a lot of stock and care about what's happening around here. So I just wanted to remind people of that. There's stuff on the line. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm having difficulty reading this name.
And move the fence.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I wrote really fast. Thank you, everybody, for all your comments. I'm just going to provide some quick facts. Tanya Nozawa. I live in Tumwater, PO Box 14013. I've served on the tree board for 7 years. And the reason why is because when I moved here 20 years ago, I love this little town and I wanted to protect the trees that were here. My husband will make fun of me all the time because we have a very small piece of property and I try to put as many trees in as I can. But I wanted to just provide some quick facts. I am very emotional about the tree. I've met people in the last 2 weeks that are in this room that are very passionate as I. But the branch that fell from the Meeker oak fell in February of 2023. I met the gentleman who witnessed it. I met the person who saw it. It fell next to the tree, not in the road. The gentleman whose daughter was going to work, it fell in front of her car. He still thinks the Meeker oak should not be cut down. The falcons, I saw them last Thursday. I was there Saturday. I went there Thursday and I actually saw them. One of them is white. She's beautiful. I saw her chase away a hawk about 4 times her size. And I heard the babies in the cavity of the tree. I talked to, I've been calling since the hearing on Friday. I've been calling U.S. Fish Wildlife. I finally got a hold of a gal today. She is the one that wants to go out and do an assessment on Thursday. Hopefully the Gary Oak will still be there. I sent her the pictures I took. I did not have my real camera, but it was a very good picture of them. So she's going to go there and do an assessment. She's already going to be at the airport doing an assessment of Oregon swallows. I have sent there, a lot of people are saying move the road, and that's a very good option. But I also talked to an individual who does work for Mercer Island, and a wildlife bridge is another idea. They are real. I looked them up. They're amazing. And it's just a bridge. I-90 has one, works very well. Can protect the road and the public if that is your concern, and the tree can still stay. Bellingham, another thing I wanted to mention is serving on the tree board. Bellingham has just created a city council ordinance to protect their historical and heritage trees. And it is very strict, and I will be bringing that forward to the tree board to implement that in our town, because it will prevent things like this happening in the future.
3 minutes, thank you.
And there was one more thing. We are nationwide. The wildlife agent that called me today, we are in People Magazine, our little town in this story. Thank you.
Thank you.